Sir, Professor Sule Magaji, other lecturers of our prestigious University of Abuja, and also my colleagues who are also studying, who are also in PhD Sustainable Development with me. Good afternoon. I'm here to present a brief part of my research proposal, and I target unveiling the coercive dynamics of migration in Nigeria. My topic is to look at migration in a different dimension, to look at it from the lens of various literature. So by way of introduction or problem statement, I see migration as commonly seen as voluntary. So we believe that migration is voluntary and that someone just decides, oh, I want to migrate. But the fact remains that many people who migrate are driven by absolute coercive forces, such as conflict, poverty, and environmental collapse. What does this mean? It means that there is an interaction between the environment and even someone's subconsciousness to move. So that for me, I don't believe that you can just move without a reason for you to move out of your comfort zone. So this study intends to apply the absolute coercion theory to migration patterns in Nigeria. That is where individuals often migrate, not because they want to migrate, but because something is forcing them to migrate. That means that is a force that helps them, that makes them migrate. So what I'm meaning is that migration is not by choice, but by compulsion. Like I said, it can be from the environment. It can be like the environment interacting with the subconscious of that person. That's at this time you need to move. Now, by way of literature overview and background, like I said, existing migration theories often fail to capture coercion as a primary driver. So they fail to capture the fact that coercion is a primary driver. So I'm trying to work around this and then to research in a different dimension, like I said, that believes that any type of migration, there is an element of coercion in it. Okay, so the absolute coercion theory intends to bridge that gap by emphasizing that structural and institutional pressures are a result of migration. Not just that I want to move, I want to migrate, not just that, oh, I feel compelled to migrate, not just that, oh man, let me just leave this place. No, something has happened between your subconsciousness, between the interaction between your subconsciousness and the environment to say, okay, go. So migration is like a pull factor, a push factor. Yes, something is pushing you out of your comfort zone to migrate. So limited empirical studies exist on Nigeria's coerced migration. So literatures are limited in types of, or let me say, empirical studies are limited in types of coercive migration in Nigeria. So, what is the objective and what are the objectives and the goals of this proposal? First is to explore the validity of absolute coercive theory in migration. So, I intend to say that, to validate that coercion is being forced, not just by you voluntarily wanting to migrate. And then I also like to identify coercive factors driving migration. So what are those coercive factors? I mentioned some above, but also in the study, we also try to identify other factors that drive migration. That's other coercive factors that drive migration. And then the third objective or goal is to generate evidence-based recommendation for policy reform. Okay, the kind of recommendations that will make government to establish policies that will address reasons why people migrate. For example, in an environment where there is drought, people will migrate. In an environment where poverty is rampant, people will migrate, want to migrate. The young man who left Zamfara, who left Sokoto, the young man who left Osun State to move to Lagos to become an Okada rider. Not that he was not doing something in his previous abode, but because he needed to go for more cash or for more, he needed to look for greener pasture than where he was. So he has to move. So this is referred to as voluntary migration. But I'm saying no, something has forced that individual to move away from that environment. So this is what this proposal, this is what this research tends to unravel. Now, what are the methods and methodology approach? Well, I'm going to employ mixed method approach. So we are going to analyze documents, we are going to interview key informants, and we are going to use focus group discussion, and then we are going to use Kobo Collect. Sampling. Okay, we are going to undertake purposive and stratified sampling across the states of Edo, Lagos, Borno, and Enugu. And then we are going to use, the data tools will be structured questionnaires, semi-structured interview guides, and then observation checklist. What are the expected outcomes, or what do we expect as deliverables from this proposal? First one is to expand understanding of absolute coercion theory. So I hope that at the end of this, I'll be able to expand knowledge in terms of how people see absolute coercion theory, or in terms of how people see migration. And then I expect to identify other coercive factors that make people migrate. And then to provide practical policy recommendation. At the end of this, I'm sure that I will have contributed to scholarly outputs via policy briefs and academic papers. What are the timelines and then key milestones? Timeline and key milestones. Month 1 to month 2 will be dedicated to literature review and tool development. While month 3 to month 4 we begin fieldwork, and we start collating data from the states we have itemized above. And then month 5 will be dedicated to data analysis. In month 6, it will be for report writing and then dissemination of reports. Potential impact and significance of this study, or of this proposed study. This proposed study will help us, will provide a conceptual shift. So there will be a shift in how migration has been understood in some quarters, or by how people view migration. It will help promote ethical, right-based migration governance and informs national and international policy response to forced migration. So it will contribute to knowledge. It will ensure that governments begin to think the other way. How do we address these forces of migration? How do we address this that make these things that make people migrate? In conclusion, forced migration should be reinterpreted through the lens of coercion. Yes. So, if I have my way, I will say that is nothing like involuntary. There's nothing like voluntary. All migrations are forced. So, migration should be interpreted through the lens of forced migration, through the lens of coercion. Something is forcing you out of your comfort zone. This study supports a more humane and policy-relevant understanding of migration dynamics in Nigeria and beyond. So, by looking at it from the point of view of coercion, then our policies will be relevant more to addressing the needs of people. I hope that this research will help government in prioritizing addressing issues that make people move. For example, instead of, let me use this as example as I conclude. Instead of attacking a thief, apart from attacking a thief who stole, why not attack what made that thief to steal? Thank you. God bless.